Hello everyone, good evening. Thank you very much for joining me and everyone else, thank you. We are here to continue with the teaching on the understanding the subtle but ever increasing nature of afflictive emotion. If you don't watch and if you don't know how to watch and see and spot, they are spreading. So afflictive emotion called anusaya. This is the 5th chapter in the Abhidharmakosha by Vasubandu, who is only second to really Nagarjuna in the Buddhist circles of past Indian great scholars whose writings, and he and his brother Asanga are really greatly equally prophesied by the Buddha, as well as Nagarjuna was in number of the Buddhist texts. So their writings are very important because the 7 actual early Mahayana, the Buddhist Abhidharma sutras or discourses were all studied by him, and then essence of that he put this into this text called Abhidharmakosha. We are currently looking at the 5th chapter on the nature of anusaya or afflictive emotions. Afflictive emotion is very misleading to think they're just mere emotions, you know. We saw when we looked at the 10 anusayas, first 5 are afflictive emotions, nothing to do with cognitive obscurations. And the second 5 are afflicted views. Afflicted views are the kind of underlying hidden causes of the afflictive emotions. We are not interested in afflictive emotions if we can do without it. So to continue with that, we will first start as the usual. First, always remember the amazing qualities and how precious the teachings of the Buddha is. And because we always learning to learn things, we study 20 over years studying things, learning things, but nothing teaches us as much as the Dharma does. And there's no one comparable to that teacher the Buddha is. And there's no one community that is more special than that congregation that uphold the teachings, propagate the teachings, foster the growth and practice. So therefore we rejoice the gem. 3 gems, you know, 1 will be sufficient. 1 will be ample, but 3 gems. And these 3 gems go together. These 3 gems go together. How do you make a gem? Because if you have the Sangha gem, your mind is very resourceful. Sangha usually is someone you rely on to clarify your mind, get help from. Now, ultimate Sangha is your clarity of your mind. You know? Where do you get clarity of mind without the Dharma? So, Dharma is the tablet that you put in the water that purifies the water and makes it very clear. You know, otherwise our mind is a little bit polluted or whatever. But as soon as Dharma falls into a mind, and then you can see it clarifies. But where does the sacred Dharma pill comes from? The Buddha, only one and only enlightened one. So that's why all Buddhists cannot afford to take refuge in anything but these 3 gems. And you cannot take enough refuge. Someone who knows the virtue of refuge, they will just meditate on the inestimable qualities of the Buddha and inestimable qualities of the Dharma and inestimable qualities of the Sangha, and how much make big difference that your otherwise deluded mind tend to suffer in its worst situation. If it wasn't for the Dharma, we are in hell. People have so many things, but their mind is lost to greed, desire, anger, judgment, and righteousness and confusion and ignorance of all the above. This is what we're talking. So, doing refuge is an incredible practice. It's not just the beginning you doing refuge prayer and then we're doing some study of Abhidharma. No, you're here, refuge. You're taking refuge continuously. When you're listening to the Dharma, you're taking refuge repeatedly, and you're going and you're departing from that miserable place where we suffered. We're no longer going to oscillate in that place when you have heard the true Dharma. And your refuge is constant. It's not occasionally at the beginning of the prayers, you do refuge, then you do some other things. No. Those who really know refuge, they're always practicing refuge. They are safe when they are in the umbrella of Dharma. So the treacherous weather of conditions outside, the elements of harshness of the deluded people cannot expose to you because you are covered. People want coverage, don't they? They even don't dare to buy a house without having insurance. They don't even dare to move in the house. But Buddhists, if they have no refuge in the triple gem, they're definitely exposed. So refuge is very important. Even listening to the study of Abhidharma is practicing refuge in the Dharma. And us and the Vasubandu and all his writings, all the scholars who've commented and taught, they are the Sangha. We are listening to the generations and generations of refuge in the Dharma that has been relished and passed down. So we are in good company of so many Sanghas who have been taking refuge in the Dharma. And this teaching came from none other than the Buddha, and Vasubandhu is only an interlocutor, only a commentator. He's just feeding us, spoon feeding us. So, with this understanding, we should listen and understand. Then it's not a new topic or something you're always looking for kind of academic kind of points. It's not like that. It's just a deepening your refuge, deepening your gratitude in the preciousness and valuableness of the Dharma, how much it heals and quells your neurosis, your wrong views, your selfishness, how much you can shield others' wrong views with kindness, not lump them with their wrong views. Understand that they too will change if you wish them well. Don't lump them with their wrong views. You see, they talk about the 98 discards when you realize path of seeing. They too are entitled to practice those discarding. So that our listening may cause that indirectly. With such attitude, we listen, we take refuge. And you're practicing refuge all the time, through the whole session and thereafter. The rest of teaching is just a formality. The refuge is the one, because if you heard Dharma, it heals your mind and it helps you to discard those discards and adopt the remedies. They're not things as you can buy from the shops or get from the teachings. It's all there in the teachings. Teachings are pointings. It's just you have to highlight by blue ink, yellow ink, red ink, light blue ink. All these people have many colorful pens to highlight your. And that's why the charts, colorful charts, helps you. Tonight I'm going to elaborate more on those 16 aspects of the Four Noble Truths when you realize those things. Because if you know that, then you will appreciate the path of seeing. Because here on we're talking about what is discarded at the path of seeing. Even though we may be well above. Sorry, the subject may be well above our ability, but it's good to know what are the 16 levels of the Four Noble Truths that one realizes that constitute discarding of those anusayas. So, with this, we do the prayers. Thank you, everybody. O in the Buddha Dhamma Asanga, I do refuge and Dhamma by virtue of Yevandala Ashare Buddha Duve and the Buddha Dhamma Asanga. I did Ladam by virtue of Yevandala Ashare Buddha Duve and the Buddha Dhamma Asanga. I did Ladam by virtue Yevandala Ashare Buddha Duve. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know a power of happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those Namkha. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they know a power of happiness. May they know that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, and those Namkha. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know the power and no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, and those Namkha. According to the intelligent and predisposition of it, where the Yujan, the Dharma, Agrelo, and Kama will. So tonight, as a which constitute you realizing and succeeding to discard those afflictions when you achieve the path of seeing. So path of seeing means that you actually take 16 steps. And when you take steps, you discard the step that you took, don't you? So that's why there are things you discard. There are 16 wrong views are discarded as each step you make the progress of. So this is very important. Sometimes it's a bit technical, most people don't understand it, but we cannot ignore it. We have to tackle it, look at it. So remember that chart we gave you last week. There is each of the Four Noble Truths are listed. Truth of suffering, truth of origin, truth of cessation, truth of path, in relation to each of the three realms: desire realm beings, form realm beings, and formless beings. So here we, for example, as a practitioner on the desire realm, as well as the form realm and formless realm, if they are able to take the steps, so traditionally called 16 moments. The 16 moments means that the moment you conquer the summit, the 16 sub-stages that you actually conquer the path of seeing, And these are all in relation to the Four Noble Truths. Each of the Four Noble Truths says the truth of suffering. Truth of suffering has four things that it must master. If it masters the four qualities, realizations, which means if it masters the realizations of 4 moments, 4 moments is the four First Noble Truth, which means if they realize the 4 realizations, then they discard the opposite of the wrong views. So we have to first know what constitutes the truth of suffering that needs to discard which wrong views. There are 4 wrong views. First wrong view is the sentient beings cling to their aggregates as if their body is self and pure. So this is the wrong view. Body is not clean or real or kind of, it is not a monolithic unity entity that we think self looks like. It is made up of solid bones, flesh, liquid, gas, and air. Yet we think it's desirable. We are enjoying it. We still are desiring other bodies as if there is something there independently desirable. So we are desiring that. We are craving this. We are attached to the aggregates as enjoyable or pure. So this is the wrong view. I mean, you don't have to say that this is, I want to keep this wrong view. You know? You can say that. Lots of people are doing that. You're not alone. Everybody keeping the wrong view, thinking they desire a body. They want to look young, even though the youngness, youth is impermanent. Even though height is impermanent, the figure is impermanent. All things are that, but they don't realize it's impermanent. They think it's permanent. So the first is we need to discard this wrong view, this static, monolithic self that is separate from the aggregates, and yet desiring aggregates as real. We enjoy aggregates. We like the height. We like the color. We like the shape. We desire it. We think it's clean, when actually it's not. So that's the wrong view. So if we were to write the wrong view, you have to know it's impermanent, it's transient, it's unclean. Maybe you can hold someone's hand for a while. You think slowly you sweat. And you can do that even with your own hand, You wash clean, and then all of a sudden you're already feeling soggy and muggy. Quickly you go and become unclean. We're constantly oozing, and we constantly just, every single hair pores are oozing out so many things, so many waste. And some more visible than others, We constantly do, but yet we don't see it. We think it's still desirable. We still think it's clean. So that is we have to realize through the path of seeing that it is unclean, it is undesirable, but even if it's young, it will become old. Even if it's strong, it will become weak. Even if it's straight, it will become crooked. And it will, it's not just whether it's with may or not. It will, and that's it. So therefore, each of these 4 realizations are divided into, this you must write down, divided into 4 classes. It's called forbearance, knowledge, subsequent forbearance, and subsequent knowledge. We call this. So forbearance means you now forbear the impermanence of your body, uncleanliness of the body, and you don't despise or deny or reject them. You just know that's the nature of all aggregates. Yeah? That's the nature of all aggregates. Therefore, you have the forbearance to impermanence. Usually we don't have forbearance to impermanence. We straight away complain. We straight away try to cover it up. Quickly quickly bring the tissues. Quickly go in the bathroom. And then we think we're clean again, We can't forbear the impermanence and the uncleanliness of the body. It doesn't mean you can't use tissue and you can't clean, but you have this forbearing that it is nature of aggregates and the body. Yeah? So that's a realization of forbearance. Under forbearance, you realize impermanence. So that's the first moment. First moment of realizing, first noble truth, is you forbear the impermanence and uncleanliness and whatever unsatisfactory things are. So you never complain. The person who realizes this first moment of truth of suffering, they don't complain when things change. See? Whether it's climate change, whether it's government change, whether it's whatever, that's the nature of things. You just have the forbearance. The forbearance. Why? Everything is impermanent. Why? All that is made is impermanent. All that is produced is impermanent. So therefore, everything is impermanent. That's the first seal of the Dharma. All conditioned things are impermanent. By cultivating this discriminating awareness, which is knowing everything is impermanent, you have the path of seeing. You see the truth of impermanence, the mistake of grasping to life and anything that are produced as permanence is eliminated. So that's how you eliminate the wrong view. By knowing that all that is produced is momentarily going through change, not just suddenly become impermanent. It's momentarily impermanent. You just didn't see it. But now you are seeing it. It's momentarily impermanent. They say that people who study genetics, they say, genes are produced, but genes are destroying the very genes. As soon as one produces, it destroys the very genes. The people who have studied the genes, years ago, I read an article, it says that the very genes that are created are destroyed by the very things that are creating. So we are constantly in the flux of change. So change is not some periodical, seasonal, millennium or only in the 21st century we go through this amazing climate change. No, it has been happening momentarily all the time. So, because everything is impermanent, so you're patient, you're forbearance. This is called forbearance moment of realizing impermanent. That's the first moment. That's to do with the truth of suffering. Yeah. Now, second is the to do with the knowledge. Now, second is to do with knowledge of the suffering. We don't have the knowledge of suffering. We think the suffering should be denied. We don't tolerate suffering. We deny suffering. Sentient beings want pleasure and happiness. They don't want displeasure and unhappiness. They don't know that their pleasure would be suffering. It's just question how quickly will it change too. So sentient beings hold the particular temperature, even though it's suffering, but it's happiness. He says, could you please put it up? Could you put up 25? And all of a sudden with 25, they think it's happiness. Then after a few minutes, they say, can you pull it down? See? so they hold the suffering of 25 as happiness. And because one is so maybe not wearing clothes properly, or maybe whatever it is, so one is very, very sensitive, some people are pleasurable in one temperature, others says it's too cold, can you please put it up? You can never have one temperature that suits everybody. Why? Because there's no truly existing happiness. It's all miserable. So this is called nature of all pervasive suffering. Suffering is pervasive, not just you and the temperature and here and there. If not this, you will be complaining about another. So suffering is pervasive and constant. So long as we have clinging to the aggregate as me and mine, there will be suffering pervasively there. So there's no suffering is constant. That's called all pervasive suffering. Now, we don't have the knowledge that that is so. But if you understand this knowledge, that's the second moment of truth of suffering, that the suffering is the nature of life. Person drinking alcohol thinks he's enjoying. Due to his affliction and addiction to it, he doesn't know he's actually suffering. He's just masking his suffering. And in form of what thing is pleasure, but he's actually suffering. He's drowning in suffering, but he thinks it's pleasurable. So, do you know this? Do you know that? Even though sentient beings are enjoying, the wise, those who have realized the second moment of realization of a noble truth of suffering, knows it's actually suffering. It may look really pessimistic and negative on the surface, but when you do know suffering as suffering, you do not complain about suffering. Because you know that. You don't say, the salty water, drinking salty water, you never say, this is drinking salty water, I will try another salty water. They're all salty water. They're all salty water. So therefore, the second is the moment of knowing suffering as a prevalent nature of life. Not just you and that issue or what he did or what that's not happening in you. Even if you didn't have that, you will have some other things. So suffering is the nature of existence. There's the mistaken view that entails incorrectly considering in suffering as pleasure. You know, they think is pleasure. Oh, pleasure to meet you. Because, how long the pleasure of meeting will last, Wish they left, in a minute. Wish they never came. So where's the pleasure? Sorry about that. Yeah, it's all nature like that, So the person is not aware when he's deluded that he's actually suffering, but he thinks it's a pleasure. So he cannot tolerate that that happiness turn into suffering. So those who do not have this second moment realization of the knowledge of the truth of suffering, knowledge of the prevalent suffering, they'll complain when something goes wrong. Those seers who have this second moment of realization, they don't complain, he's greedy, he's noisy. They don't. They say that's the nature of things. There are many things worse than that. And so you have this amazing knowledge of the prevalence of suffering. Incredible. It completely gives you the vision. And so therefore, what do? You reject the contaminated pleasure and craving for it. You're not craving for contaminated pleasure like drinking alcohol. Because you wouldn't realize how much deeper a suffering it is. It's only mistakenly thinking it is pleasurable when it's actually suffering. So when he doesn't have the drink, he will be furious. He's so addicted to it. When you give him a drink, he keeps quiet for a while. So actually, he's more miserable than he's pleasurable. Whereas others who don't drink at all don't have any kind of a sense of loss by not getting it. So doesn't it show it's an addiction? It does. The person doesn't have the knowledge. Knowledge is powerful. Lack of it is destitution. That's why the knowledge of Dharma is powerful, because it empowers you to tolerate suffering as a nature of things because you know it is. So that's why it's called knowledge level. That's the second level, second moment. When you know everything, when you know samsara is by nature suffering, and water is by nature fluid, fire is by nature burning, and wind is by nature movement, then you don't complain when the wind blows, you know. If you complain wind, don't go in the wind. If the it's the nature of the wind, it will blow. So it's nature of samsara, don't come in it. Don't come in samsara next time. But this time it's a bit too late, you know. So that's the knowledge. Forbearance, first moment. Second is the knowledge. Knowledge that life is suffering. Buddha said, the nature of life is suffering. Samsara is by nature unsatisfactory. It's the truth. It's the seal of the Dharma. All things are impermanent, all conditioned things are impermanent, all contaminated, afflicted thoughts is unsatisfactory. Yes, suffering. So you realize that. So these seals you from complaining. If you're complaining this, complaining that, you haven't realized this. The nature of the prevalence of the suffering, nature of life. The nature of life is suffering. Just a question of what variety of suffering, you know. Suffering of change, a pervasive condition. Pervasive suffering is underlying suffering of all sufferings. That's clinging, those 5 wrong views we discussed last week, that those 5 wrong views are sedimented cause of the pervasive suffering. Until those 5 wrong views, afflicted views are eliminated, you will always complain about suffering. Always something to complain. The wise do not complain because they have knowledge. They know it is nature of existence. It is nature of existence. It is not especially to you that life is like that. You think being rich is good. You're complaining you're poor. Wait until you become rich. The rich has got more richness in suffering. You know, rich are hiding wealth from their children, and wives hiding from the husband, and then they're taken to court. See, this is the richness of wealth of the richness. They're doing it, you know. Have you heard of the headlines recently? You know, some richest families are just hiding from each other. And where's their happiness from the rich? It's all become cause of conflict and suffering. So where's the happiness, pleasure of richness, and misery of destitution? They're equal. They're just different kind of suffering. So those are 2 moments, yeah? 2 moments. Forbearance moment, knowledge moment. And now, then the second 2 are subsequent forbearance, subsequent knowledge. Now they are still truth of suffering, yeah? So the third one is subsequent forbearance. Subsequent forbearance is because we already got some forbearance with things become impermanent, you're forbearing it, yeah? You're forbearing it, now you're accepting it. Now the third level, subsequent forbearance is improved version of the forbearance. Because when people are forbearing, they usually try to bottle it up, but they are about to explode. Subsequent forbearance prevents the explosion. So what does it do? When you don't have this subsequent forbearance, sentient beings hold what is non-static to be static. Although the 5 aggregates such as body, feelings, and so on, they are all non-static, in that they change every moment, and the continuity of their change is continuous, not just when they hit 45, or not only when they're 60, or like that. The change in their aggregate is body to mind, conscious constantly. So the change is so momentary, they don't even notice because its change is so frequent. this mistaken view that there is a static, truly existing static self that is identical to the aggregate, a sense of as if nothing changes. I'm still John, I'm still Jill, as if I'm lasting forever, as I've existed since time immemorial. This false view has to be emptied, has to be vacated. Right now, we have this fixated grasping to this. Now, the third one is subsequent forbearances, that not only things are impermanent and suffering, but they're empty. The third is subsequent forbearance, gives you realize suffering, the truth of suffering, the suffering is empty. See, that's an improvement. You thought there was permanent suffering. No, there is no suffering that is real. Even suffering is empty. So, subsequent forbearance is, that's why emptiness is higher than knowing things is impermanent. Now you know everything's empty. Empty doesn't mean non-existent. Empty meaning it's not unitarily, independently, inherently existing. It is dependently existing. Dependently existing body. You have elbows. You have a wrist. You have fingers. You have fingernails. I think that fingernails are pretty useless if there's no finger. Have 10 fingers or strewn over your dinner plate, or on your pillow or somewhere. Yeah, fingernails are only good on the finger, not on the nose. You see, they're all dependent on each other. There's nothing independently truly existing beautiful fingernail. Have you ever picked a beautiful fingernail on the street and admired? No, a beautiful fingernail is only it's on the finger, but not finger with our wrist, not the wrist with the arm, not the wrist with our person. So where does the truly existing fingernail exist? No, it doesn't. It totally depends on the non-fingernail. It depends on the wrist and elbows and hands and whole body. Otherwise, it is called human remain. When it is remain and when is the one whole? When does body become remain and when does it become part of the whole? No, actually they're all puzzles put together or jumbled together, packed together. There is no truly exist. It's empty of self. That's empty of that, empty of truly existing aggregate. That's what it is. So this wrong view that things are permanent, things really truly existing, is now eliminated. You take another step. This is the third step, yeah? This third step, with the discriminating awareness that the suffering, while debilitating though it was, is empty of true existence. Even suffering don't exist. Therefore, suffering and life that you were complaining about are both empty. So that's the subsequent forbearance. Subsequent forbearance is now your forbearance level to the things that are changing, things that are unsatisfactory, is much easily accepted by understanding the emptiness of the things. Yeah. So that's called subsequent forbearance. If you realize emptiness, this is the mantra of all mantras, remember? Mantra that surpasses all mantra is knowing everything's empty. It doesn't mean just reciting the mantra, but you don't know anything like that. You thought even reciting the mantra, you know that mantra means you protect your mind from the mistaken conceptions. You are now protected from the mistaken conception that there is no truly unitarily, independently existing self, let alone unsatisfactory one. It's empty of self, let alone unsatisfactory one. Empty of self of anything, if you can take it. So that's the third moment. Yeah, third moment is subsequent forbearance. Now the fourth moment is called subsequent knowledge. Remember, the second was knowledge, and now the knowledge has to be improved and for that, in order to do that, you have to discard the wrong view. You have to take the step, To step means you have to lift your feet and leave where you were standing. Right now, people's feet are stuck in the mud of holding. Sentient beings hold what is not established as an impossible soul to be an impossible soul. They think there is permanent soul. Most religious traditions believe in soul as a permanent entity. Although none of the five aggregates, if you go one by one from the form to consciousness, cannot be established as authentic, unitarily, independently existing thing, as self-sufficiently knowable me, other than the merely labeled. So this mistaken view constantly entails in incorrectly considering them to be real, body to be real, feeling to be real, and then you get you're feeling so bad, you think it's so real, this is me and mine, and get so caught up in this suffering. So we need to lift the feet from the mud of thinking that and take the next step, fourth step, with the discriminating awareness of the fourth aspect of truth, true suffering, which is the fourth aspect is subsequent forbearance. Subsequent knowledge. Choedak is called. So forbearance, knowledge, subsequent forbearance, and subsequent knowledge. This is the fourth one, subsequent knowledge. When you have the subsequent knowledge, it eliminates the mistaken view of a truly existing self. So there is no permanent, truly existing. So therefore, the impermanent first, suffering second, empty third, and selfless fourth. Yeah. So this means emptiness of phenomena and therefore selflessness of self. So basically, all four C's of Dharma, not only intellectually or conceptually you understand, when you realize these four and discard their antithesis, then you realize the first four moments of the truth of noble truth of suffering. Because these four incorrect facts are now corrected. Therefore they are truth. Truth means that which is valuable, it is useful, and an opposite to truth is false. All those false premises, false kind of assertion has been repudiated. One doesn't think human body, however it looks, is desirable, permanent, truly existing self. One doesn't think like. In a relative world, of course, we can give to each other a relative name. John, Peter, school teacher, postmaster. This you can give that. So, for the sake of the relative truth, for the what do we call interpretive truth, but definitive truth, they are not. The person is not a postman, except when he delivers them. He's a father at home. He's a road user on the road. He's got various names. He's got so many names. You don't know which one he is, what people will call him. So all these things are merely labeled, merely imputed. So when you know that impure collection is impure collection, gas, flesh, bones, and fluid is not self and not desirable, now you have the correct view. Now you know unpleasant, undesirable and undesirable, unclean is unclean, impermanence is impermanent, and so on. And because of that, your perceptions, your actions that you perform, and what you see, or you see them as illusions. Even you did well, you don't get attached to them. Yeah. Even you fail, you don't blame them. Oh, it's terrible. These things are all illusions. Because now we know all things are. Illusion doesn't mean it didn't happen. It happened, but it's not there anymore. So we're not denying existence, temporariness of. We're not denying the temporariness of it. Whatever is temporary does not truly exist. So to grasp them as permanent is unsatisfactory. Unsatisfactoriness comes from grasping the impermanent things as permanent, unreal things as unreal. So when you now have this view, now you have acquired this vision, because this is a correct view. You have acquired this view. Until these four incorrect views are corrected, it's difficult to have the higher knowledge of the path of seeing of these Four Noble Truths: forbearance, knowledge, subsequent forbearance, subsequent knowledge. You don't have these four. They do not know that holding on to these four misconceptions is the suffering. Now the misconceptions are lifted, and so you have the seeing of what it is, So when you know misconception is the cause of suffering, the lack of correct knowledge is the pain. Lack of correct knowledge and being subjected to the misconception is the suffering. That's ignorance. It's a fact that the beautiful appearances of the physical body is but illusory. It's a transient collection of all these things that's covered in 7 layers of skin. It's fragile by nature, it's hollow, it's not what it appears, it's exactly opposite to what it appears. When carefully examined, both youth and beauty will soon succumb to old age, sickness, and death. Sentient beings weep and cry because they cannot accept what it is. When body go through the changes, one's attachment to the aggregate transforms into objects of aversion. Now the old and decrepit are almost left in some certain homes, places people don't go. When young and lovely, tender, loving babies, everybody want to hold, everybody want to smile, everybody crack. But when they're near old people, they almost don't want to go there. It's completely contradictory. One is the cause of the other. That's what the Buddha said. Now bhikkhus, bhikkhus are monks, This is the truth of suffering. Birth is suffering, aging is suffering, illness is suffering, aging, death is suffering, meeting with what is displeasing is suffering, separation from what is pleasing is suffering, not to get what one wants is suffering. In brief, 5 aggregates subject to clinging are sufferings. Now, when a person had the advantage of knowing, have the forbearance, with the uncleanliness and impermanence and so on, and then they have the knowledge, the nature of the suffering. Then they have the subsequent forbearance and subsequent knowledge, not to go against the truth. And then you remove the cataract of ignorance, and then you see. So when one is now able to get these first 4 moments of the first noble truth of suffering, then you achieve the first moments of the noble truth of suffering. Now, the amazing thing about that is the noble truth of suffering is a result of a cause. So therefore, it naturally will now cause to dent to the origin of it. So therefore, it goes to the second noble truth of origin. Truth of origin. The truth of origin means all sentient beings desire pleasure, and believe that life is all about attaining enjoyment and pleasure. And temporal pleasure exists but only lasts for a short while. So clinging to temporal pleasure as permanent causes the suffering. Sentient beings are like a moth attracted to the flame of the candle without knowing the nature of the flame. If it flies into it, it will incinerate it. So the first distorted view that one has to overcome with the truth of origin. If you get the fifth moment, now we got done with the first 4 moments already. Fifth moment is knowing the causes of the suffering, knowing the causes of the suffering. So, but people who do not know the cause of it, they embrace the very true origin of it. They embrace the very origin of suffering as if it's going to relieve the suffering. So this is two aspects. One is holding that suffering has no cause. These are certain schools, like Charvaka school, Indian philosophy, is said that they think that there's no reason why we have suffering. They say it just is. They don't believe in past karma, or action, or affliction causing the suffering. They just say, well, a lot of materialists also, they say, why people suffer? They say it just is. So they usually deny causes. So first level is deny causes. And secondly, even if second group is, even if they do accept causes, they point the finger to the discordant cause. Meaning that they are viewing something as incorrect cause as cause. They're suffering from causes that are unrelated to what you did. And maybe point to somebody else. Like the various Indian schools that were contemporary to Buddha, like Sankhya school, actually have example of mistaken view that believe that suffering comes from what they call perturbation, which is the kind of transformation or primal nature, primal matter. They have 25 such factors they talk about things. They will not know how to point the finger to the correct cause. They either say there's no cause, or it has a different cause, which is not the cause of it. So they're pointing finger to the non-cause as a cause, or denying totally the existence of cause at all. Whereas people who see the truth of origin, now then know there are causes. So then what do? You have the Dharma knowledge. So now you have the Dharma forbearance. Again, the forbearance, knowledge, subsequent forbearance, subsequent knowledge. These four comes to each of the another 12 moments. All of the 12 moments comes under those 4 headings. So the Dharma forbearance is accepting the true causes of suffering as craving, grasping, me and mine. So it's not pointing finger to God, or causing finger to someone else, or some accident or whatever, chance or whatever it is. So lots of people do that. Lots of people do not accept the cause is their own craving, or grasping, or ignorance of it. So now when you have got the discerning wisdom, right wisdom, to take this step, you have to know, cause is my craving, my self-centeredness, my grasping to body, me, and wanting this for myself, and therefore I'm agitated with you and what you did, or not what you did, really it's my craving. Seldom people realize it's my craving. They think, what you did to me is the problem. And the other one says, no, it's you did this to me. Neither of them see each other's craving. If one says it's your craving, you can say, maybe I might have a craving too. If both understand each other's craving, and we are in the same boat, But no, usually both pointing finger to the other person's craving, other person's anger, or domination, or whatever it is. Now, so then you have the forbearance with the cause of The problem is your own craving. Now you're forbearing, swallowing pride, and so my own craving, my own grasping, my own self-centeredness. Now you're forbearing with that. Now you have the eye to forbear with your own. Forbear means withstand. Forbear means a good word. Means you bear the hardship for a greater purpose. Good result later on. Now you accept your craving. Your craving. See, it's not incorrect, is it? It's not denying the cause, is it? It's accepting the cause. See, that's the forbearance. So, the first aspect of the truth of origin is forbearing with the correct cause. Bitter pill, they call it. Accepting the bitter pill. That's the bitter because it's not enjoyable. So forbear the bitter pill of the craving, which is your cause of that. Now, if you realize this, incredible, because you wouldn't bark, you wouldn't blame, you wouldn't name, you wouldn't point finger at others, you would see them as your craving and your grasping, and you will be silent. You will have the forbearance. This is such a bitter pill, but I must swallow it. Why some people are more patient, become patient than before? Hopefully they're doing this. It's really good, See, they're realizing the true origin of suffering, which is the craving that is the cause of the suffering. Not blaming others, not barking at the wrong tree, not denying there is any cause, and disregard the cause and effect. No, one becomes even more careful about cause and effect, particularly seeing how it is caused by one's own craving as an example. And then, of course, you have great compassion to yourself. You suffered previously, but I didn't tell you this is the true cause of suffering. I told you it's not him. I told you not your boss. It's not him. It's your own selfishness, your own self-creating, self-centeredness. And then you say, you never told me before. You can say, I never knew these things. Nobody taught me in this. They always teach me how to blame others. This society always teach you to blame others, always try to point fingers at somebody, and there are plenty of people who will help you to do that. Nobody says it's your own craving. Only the Buddha saw this. Buddha had this. Why did he see? He sat under the tree trying to see this. It's so difficult to spot. You can see everything, but you can't see this because you have to be a seer to see this. No wonder you have the forbearance with the true cause. How do you know when a person doesn't know the cause? He is impatient. He is impatient with the wrong causes. The actual cause is completely ignored, and no way of looking and finding it. Just completely reacting to non-causes, nothing to do with this, nothing to do with that. Wrong tree is called. They're all barking at the wrong tree. The true tree is completely ignored. Once you discover the true tree, then you don't bark. That's the change of your behavior. Some people may mistakenly think that you are at fault, you are so quiet, you don't defend yourself, that sort of thing. Let them form their opinion with that. It's much more disastrous to defend yourself when there's no self. You rather accept the craving that's the initial cause of problem that you should forbear with, which is an incredible peacemaker. No, we're not talking about just making peace, not making war with them. That's a peace. We're talking about not wasting any ammunition to any wrong objects, wrong target. Now you have directly hit. You have completely apprehended the true cause, and hence you are forbearing. That's the fifth moment, which is the first moment of the noble truth of origin. Distinct taste, distinct flavor. So just as we went through the first four four aspects of the Noble Truth of suffering: impermanent suffering, empty, and selflessness. Now, with the truth of origin, you list another four. Yeah, cause is the fifth one, and the sixth one. First one, we have to take the step. And take the step means the sentient being hold the suffering is created just from one single cause. They don't see. So even if they see they saw it's their craving, they think that's the only cause. That's going to be a problem. They don't know it is dependent. So then they're belting themselves. So therefore, there is no single cause, but yet they think there is. That's them or that's him. They know they may have apprehended one partially correct cause, but they think that's the only thing. But suffering originates from multitude of causes and conditions. So therefore, second aspects of the second noble truth of origin is origination. So where does the cause originate from? Yeah, cause has its own origination. It hasn't got just one. Yellow River is not one stream. That becomes so big. It's many small rivers become Yellow River. Therefore, so the origination of the Yellow River is not one river; it's many rivers. Like that, causes they don't know. There are multitude of causes and conditions. Just as sprouts come from not just from seed alone. If the sprout came from seed alone, then wherever there's seed, the sprout will come from it. You don't need to plant, let alone choose the weather or soil or whatever. No. The sprout doesn't come from seed alone, but from combination of many factors. The water, the fertilizer, the heat, the light, the human effort, and so on and so forth. So the multitude of origination. So therefore, when you have this, all the causes have multitudes of origination, then you have the knowledge. Now, this is the sixth, which is the second moment of realization of noble truth of origin. Incredible in that then you have the realization, discriminating awareness is the second aspect of the truth of origin, is that origination. That craving and karma are the origin of all sufferings over and over again. It's a repetition, perpetuation of 1, 2, 3, and so on. There is this seed. That is the initial seed. That seed only can become a sprout with all the combination. Even the seed itself came from past germination, past soil, past water, and so on. So there wasn't this parachuting seed right from the beginning that it was the original seed, So there's no original sin. Very good in Buddhism. even the cause has causes, which is very kind. Even somebody is violent to you, you should, he must have exposed to others even more violence than this poor thing. My kids always pull my leg sometimes. They say, Dad, when is my birthday? Because I forget, I forget their birthday because I really don't. I do, Terrible. Terrible in the modern sense. Because I never was brought up celebrating anybody's birthday. Because I never celebrated birthday. It's only when I went to New Zealand, the guy said, when is your birthday? I said, no, I don't know. And then we made up, We never heard of anybody's birthday, let alone me celebrating every year, So like that, So don't blame me if I don't remember your birthdays. Because I never birthdays when I was a kid, or even when I was an adult, because we never have that such culture. So you know the causes. You know the cause of the causes. You know the cause of the causes. You need a multitude of causes, not just because you forgot or you don't care, because there's nothing to forget. Nothing to forget when you never have been exposed to that. Yeah. So when you have the benefit of this, then you need a multitude of causes and conditions is origination of the causes. And then you have the knowledge of the multitude of causes and what we call dependent originations. Incredible. Then you don't point finger even to you as the true only cause of the problem. You know, when you say it's all in the mind, there's a problem. It's not even in the mind. That's truly existing. It's very important, because otherwise people are belting themselves. I'm the true cause of it because you are good enough not to blame others anymore, but take on yourself. Quite a lot of people do that. Lots of people do study Buddhism, and then all of a sudden they are now warring with themselves. They may be very non-violent and non-aggressive and maybe even generous and courteous towards others, but towards them they become really, really hard. Why? Because they haven't realized this. The multitude of causes and conditions. So that's knowledge. That's knowledge. Knowledge of the origination. And the third aspect of it. Third aspect is subsequent forbearance. Subsequent forbearance is now true origin with the subsequent forbearance is that first you have to take the step to eradicate the wrong view, and you need to know what's the wrong view. The sentient beings hold the suffering is created from its having been sent ahead by the mind of some other being. As Allah did it, or God did it, or wishes of the God, or God willing, or some people, theistic people, believe it's all God's willing. That's really, really not helpful. Because Vaisheshika school in Indian philosophy, they think it's all wish of the God. The suffering is sent to you so that you grow, or they say, so that we grow, and they say some teachings in other religious traditions, why do we have free? God gave you the choice so that you can make more mistakes. So that kind of, as we were made to make mistake, just to test us by somebody else. This kind of completely brainless view, way of looking at it. And as the Ishvara is the one who sends sufferings, this type of activity, they hold this wrong view. The suffering is produced by one sole cause that is very big, beyond ours. We can't ask for questions. We can't ask the cause. Suffering is caused by karma and affliction and multitude of other causes, conditions. They never would entertain that. Only Buddhist teaching says suffering is caused by this and that, this and more. So in order to eradicate such danger of holding such fanatical views, this is, we were talking about those afflicted views. These are belonging to the afflicted views, saying the extreme views. If you have extreme views, you can't discard the true suffering of realize the truth of origin. So, with the help of developing the discriminating awareness of the third aspect of the truth of origin, which is peace. Now you have true peace. The peace is there because you no longer are perpetuating the craving anymore, grasping anymore. When you know there are a multitude of causes craving, you say, so now you made peace. Give peace a chance. Yes, subsequent forbearance. Yeah. If a person is practicing forbearance after forbearance, it's a peace, isn't it? Yeah. So the person has peace. Person has peace. That's the third aspect of this second noble truth is peace. Peace means absence of sorrow, because one is not causing this craving to perpetuate. One is actually forbearing the consequences of past craving. Incredible. Yeah. You have the ability to forbear the consequences of past craving and not do new craving. That is peace, giving a chance. Yeah, you have peace. Peace is the third aspect of the second noble truth, which is subsequent forbearance. Subsequent forbearance means better than first forbearance. So the first forbearance is not called peace, because there is no real peace. When people practicing patience, they don't have patience. They don't have peace. They have miserable. They have misery. Practicing patience is miserable. There is a time when the miserable becomes peaceful. This is a very good one. When the misery becomes peaceful, the Shakyamuni Buddha just completely forgot to eat and drink. He totally, the ending of the craving just made his craving non-existent. Therefore, don't have any of this suffering. He is completely peaceful. Whether it's hot or cold, he doesn't know hot and cold, because there's no craving for warmth, because he's no cold. No craving for cold, because he doesn't feel cold because he's not craving for cold, and vice versa. He's completely annulled the cause of the suffering. If you stop the cause of suffering, and of course there will be cessation, stoppage of the suffering, and therefore there is peace. So that's the third aspect of the truth of origin. Yeah, third aspect of the truth of origin is peace. Now the fourth aspect is that is subsequent knowledge, which is to have the subsequent knowledge is better than the first knowledge. Yeah. Better than the first knowledge. It's because realization of realization, you can call it. But they don't call it realization of realization. They call subsequent knowledge of Dharma. Knowledge means knowledge of reality. Knowledge of the reality of the origin of suffering. To be able to have that, first we have to know the problem. Holding that regarding the cause of suffering, there's something that is permanent by nature. They think like people have suffering 20 years ago, they think the pointing finger, and they still have aversion, they still have a fear and trauma about it, because they think their suffering not only is one, but also permanent. Permanent cause of suffering. So that's the wrong view. Yeah? Something that is permanent by nature, even though it changes, he doesn't think he has changed. I think he's same old person, same old this person. People think like that. Jain school actually have this kind of view called prana. They think the prana is permanent, and by nature it is eternal and perfect, and so on. So they got a kind of fallacious view of that permanence. But because of the prana association with matter, they experience temporary changing sufferings. But they think there still are kind of underlying permanent soul that's perfect from its own side, always. This kind of grasping to a permanent cause is what we need to eradicate by this fourth aspect of the second noble truth, which is subsequent knowledge. This is called correct method, right method. Because if you don't have this method, craving and karma are the condition of suffering, and when you know the prevention of the craving and grasping, then it's a correct path. Because then it is the stop problem, the problem is completely stopped. problem is stopped because you have correctly recognized the origins of suffering and origination and peace, and therefore total stoppage of it. The true origin is when you adopt the right method. When you have the right method, then you have subsequent knowledge. Oh, this is the path. Now you realize truth of origin. And when you realize the truth of origin, then almost you have realized truth of cessation. It's just fine line between the two. You can't realize truth of cessation unless you can see the truth of origin. If you don't recognize the true origin as the true origin, you could never stop the suffering, because the true origin has not been stopped and it will be continually perpetuated. But when you have nailed down the true origin, which is right of all method, then that is the subsequent knowledge. Subsequent knowledge means knowledge of knowledge, realization of realization, which almost like, now you have, when you do the meditation through path of accumulation, the path of preparation, then you have glimpses of these things in your meditation. You have such a kind of it's like people who know how to class wools. They have different names for different color wools, Or the Eskimos have different names for different kind of snow. Like this, meditators have different kinds of realization that is different from the first realization. So 16 moments are a kind of a graduated realization of realizations. Because if you realize something, then you eradicate what you didn't realize. Like it doesn't. Then the next time that problem doesn't present a problem to you because you're above it. Some people will do various things. Sentient beings do all the things like that, deluded. It doesn't make you to upset, let alone react. You will see them as first as nature, impermanent, selfless, and not truly existing. Secondly, you know the cause, the origination, peace, and the right method. See, all those 8 comes one after another. It's like step by step. This is graduated path of enlightenment. Don't tell me graduated path of enlightenment was some new thing that is taught by some 11th century Tibetan or Indian masters. The 16 steps of realizing the path of seeing, of the Four Noble Truths, is the actual graduate path to path of seeing. What is graduate path to what? Graduate path to where? Graduated path to realizing truth of path of seeing. Before you get to the graduate path of seeing, you go to the graduate path of accumulation, path of preparation, and then you practice all those things, meditating on the samsara or human rebirth or impermanence, death and karma. These things are just, I don't know. In many ways, you can go straight into Four Noble Truth teaching, and then you can build in all the other details of teaching in the Four Noble Truth. Would have been much original form of graduate path to path of seeing. But in any case, we can appreciate the whole corpus of the teaching. What it's trying to teach us, try to make us see what we don't see. And we could see incredible, step by step, it changes. And in the very Dharmachakraparvatana Sutra, this is the original sutra on the Four Noble Truths, in relation to the truth of origin of suffering, says the Buddha said, "Oh, now bhikshus, this is the noble truth of origin of suffering. It is the craving, tanha, means craving means thirst. People are so thirsty or hungry, which leads to re-becoming, and the bhava, becoming, accompanied by delight, desire, seeking delight here and there. There is craving for pleasure, craving for becoming, craving for disbecoming, and incessant all the time. Yeah. Give one thing and try to get another, move from one place, try to get another. try very hard to get that, and then try very hard to get rid of it, and then try to get very hard to get something else, and just continuously perpetuating. So this is the causes and origin conditions. That is, the sentient beings don't see this. Because they are set on their views. In thinking, it is all due to some autonomous cause, some external cause, always out there. Your cause of problems, always there, autonomous from you, independent of your perception. And this is an incredible problem for most people. They never see the interdependence of the causes and conditions. They see there is a monolithic, independent, unitary, inherently autonomous existing cause. Whatever they try to rectify, it doesn't rectify the cause. Why? Because of the false premise. Thinking there is an external, out there cause, independently existing cause. They don't know things are dependently existing. The Yellow River is not Yellow River. It starts with many small streams, trickles in north, far west Tibet. They never call it Yellow River. It's not even a river. And slowly, all these many tributaries mixing together has become Yellow River. Failure to know one thing is not cause of everything. They think that suffering is produced by one and only cause, when in fact suffering is caused by multiple causes or conditions, and they refuse to see the big picture. That's why they have no seeing. It's ignorant. Part of seeing is you see the multitude of causes and conditions. Therefore, sentient beings are stuck in believing that their suffering is permanent, it is doing of somebody else, and so on and so forth. And they have no intention of changing their view. They have intention of getting support to prove that is correct view. They will use power, position, lawyers, and try to prove the wrong as right. And then goes on and on and on and on and on. Because of this, they fail to understand suffering altogether, and they despise change and become even more discontented whatever they do to resolve it. Incessant discontentment makes sentient beings become so fettered in the chain of sufferings. Due to confusion concerning the true origin of their suffering, they're led to believe that their sufferings are caused by actions of other people, demons, curse, malice, ill will. Because the failure to recognize the true origin of their suffering in the 10 afflictions, 10 afflictions, remember? 10 afflictions. 5 view-orientated, 5 non-view-orientated. They overreact and aggravate the very cause of their suffering with those very 10 afflictions. All in one force. Incredible, yeah. Just imagine, if one of those afflictions is operational, it's already dangerous. But all the afflicted views and cognitive obscuration and afflicted emotions all together. No wonder so sentient beings are so screwed up. They do not know that other people's actions are only a small trickle of the Yellow River. So, those are the 4 aspects of the truth of origin. So we covered the first half. Second is the third noble truth of cessation. Now things improving. Now we are talking about when you tackle the first truth of suffering by recognizing the truth of origin, because you can't accept the truth of origin unless you know the truth of suffering itself, because truth of suffering is truth of truth. And then even the suffering has its origin. And origin, causes and conditions. Once you know the origin, then why you have to complain about fear about suffering when you don't cause it? Because of that, now there is chance of cessation. So the third noble truth, the truth of cessation, has also 4 aspects. 4 aspects, yeah? Those 4 aspects are only dependent on having eradicated the 4 erroneous views. 4 erroneous views. Now these 4 erroneous views we must know, because this is very subtle. We don't have a clue normally. Not knowing the actual cause of misery, they do not know how to distinguish their affliction like craving from other people's action like craving. Other people's affliction like craving. They do not know their own craving and cannot remedy other people's craving. They are unconscious to know and see their craving, let alone becoming aware of other people's craving. This unawareness is called avidya, no awareness in the actual cause, which is the actual cause of the suffering truth of origin. Consequently, they lay blame and they remain ignorant, and that's why the avidya is depicted in the Buddhist wheel of life as an old blind woman in the wheel of life. How people are battered by their ignorance. They become old and blind just by virtue of being deluded of these first true truths. So due to this, they hold the view that there is no such thing as liberation. See, they hold the wrong view. They say there's no liberation, no Buddhahood, no pure realms, no karma, no future lives. And that's exactly what quite a lot of secular Buddhists say these days. Because they haven't seen, remember? They haven't seen the past life, so they don't believe there is one. So they think they can be Buddhists without beliefs. Because they deny. They deny seeing that. This is like no different from the Charvaka school. Modern day materialists, atheists, hedonists do that. And they just take this life as it comes and don't fear or that there is consequences of what they do later, or they will be good if they did such a liberation. They totally deny any good in the future, any good in the cause that has come from the past. So they totally deny that. So this view has to be corrected. When this view is corrected, discriminate awareness, first aspect of the true order, true cessation, true cessation means true stopping, Are everlasting stopping that occur through the power of opponent powers. Power of opponent power of what's called cessation. Now there is real stoppage. Now the person is quiet. He no longer complains. He no longer perpetuates his behavior because craving has stopped, and now it's just like there is no rain because there is no cloud. So there is a cessation of the angst and ill will, and craving and desire, and resentment, and thinking that there is no liberation. Thinking there's no effect of karma, all these wrong views, person suffered, Now there is stoppage. So that's the first aspect, is forbearance with cessation. He's now forbearance. The forbearance is the first aspect of each of the truth, Forbearance of the truth is, first one is the cessation. Now there is actual cessation of these wrong views. It does not say there is no liberation. He is experiencing liberation. He no longer has suffering because he doesn't cause it. He doesn't have enemy because he has no enmity. He has no miserliness because he's not attached to things. And because of that, he doesn't suffer. So the suffering has completely ceased. So he therefore has this forbearance is the cessation of suffering. It's a cessation. Now this cessation is the forbearance of the first aspects of the forbearance of the third noble truth of origin. Then the second aspect of the third noble truth is the knowledge of true peace. So number 10 is true peace. True peace means that you actually have now realized that not only cessation, but subsequently after cessation, there is true peace. For instance, if they don't experience this, the problem is even if they do believe they hold a certain specific tainted phenomena are liberation, the incorrect view that the balance absorption, they become so attached to the meditative jhanas. They think that is the true peace, They become attached to this contaminated worldly meditation. Remember, we had all those 9 worldly meditation. They become very attached to those as the actual truth realization. It's not the cessation of suffering. It's just that kind of a lull. Just as like a temporary lull for a couple of eons. But they think that is the actual liberation. Like the 4 meditative concentration of this form realm, first meditative concentration, second, third, fourth, as well as the four stages of the worldly 4 stages of the infinite consciousness, infinite space, nothing whatsoever, and the peak. All of these things are worldly meditative concentration. They are not ultimate liberation, but yet they think that is liberation. They think that's the true cessation, which is not true cessation. So that's why in Buddhism, the great effort is made, at least in Mahayana Buddhism, so that people do not become encroaching to this meditative bliss and jhanas too quickly. Without any bodhicitta, true sentient beings, who don't realize any of this first true noble truth of suffering and truth of origin, but they just completely forget everybody because they completely bliss out by their contaminated meditative, worldly meditative concentration. They think that is cessation. Now, here, that is eradicated. With the discriminating awareness, that the second aspect of the noble truth of cessation is pacification of all disturbing emotion and attitudes. It's not it's not sign that you have to go up in the higher realms. You could actually experience in this very stage of a day without any afflictive emotions. And as a result of that, one sees the true stopping. So this is the true stopping is peace. So now peace is within one's mind. Absence of ill will, absence of not doing ill will, not having craving, not doing any of the 10 root afflictions we talked about. Yeah. So that's the discard. Because of the discarding of the truth, cessation is now happening. Therefore, there is true peace. This is peace from the peace, which is second aspect of the third noble truth, not to be confused with the peace of the third aspects of the second noble truth. There are different levels of peace, So 10th one, which is second aspect of the third noble truth, knowledge. Now the third one is subsequent forbearance. Subsequent forbearance is the third aspect of the third noble truth, noble truth of cessation. Now in order to reach that level, you have to overcome the you have to overcome the obstacle, yeah. You have to overcome the obstacle. So that's the 11th obstacle. That is that there's those people who do not realize. Of course, if there are those who realize each of the first 10 moments, of course, will overcome that. But those who don't, they have all these different levels of obstacles. So the 11th obstacles, they become fanatic in holding that some specific sufferings are liberation. Then they masochistically cut themselves in pieces, slash their body, stand on one feet, as that is liberation. All this extreme self-mortification, various fanatical religious practices. You see those people bleeding and cutting and pulling this card with all these nails, all this incorrect view that attainment of the aggregate of a formless being in a state of ultimate liberation, that they go beyond themselves by suffer in the name of God and like holy war, or dying for the sake of holy thing and all this sort of thing. Limited beings reborn on the plane of formless beings have only 4 aggregates. They lack the aggregate of form because they are formless, remember? So, and they lack gross bodies, although they also lack during their lifetime the suffering of unhappiness and suffering of change. They will experience all pervasively affecting sufferings of having tainted aggregates. So this is the kind of beings who get attached to fanatical religious practices, suffering as liberation. So that's what the Buddha himself taught. So people should follow middle way, not excessive asceticism and self-mortification, like quite a lot of religious fanatics think it is, as a kind of a true cessation of the problems. So, therefore, when you develop the discriminating awareness of the third aspect of the third noble truth, which is the perfection, this is the third aspect of the third noble truth is perfection, which is the subsequent forbearance. Now you are perfecting your qualities, and the true stopping are of superior quality. Because previously you might have stopping, but stops only a while, and then still you whinge, But this true stopping has a superior quality, and that's called perfection. So there is a kind of perfection is not called perfection unless there's nothing to be done. It's well done, really. So that's the third aspect of the third noble truth, called subsequent forbearance, is perfection. And now the fourth of the third noble truth. Fourth aspect of the third noble truth of cessation which is called subsequent release. Knowledge is called final release. Final release, some people will call final release. Final release. It's a bit difficult in English. That some of the terms looks very similar. You can see that. So let's call it final release. The final release is difficult to get because it's the final. So what is the hindrance is holding that although there may be a depletion of sufferings, those people in the wrong view, it is something that will reoccur, and so therefore you need to develop the wisdom of the fourth aspects of the truth of cessation, which is the stopping of the final release or definite emergence or renunciation, you can call it, from samsaric sufferings. So there's complete stoppage from samsara. So this is basically nirvana. Final release means nirvana. Nirvana means putting out the fire of suffering, sorrow. The fire of sorrow has been put out. You are totally released. You no longer have any sorrow because everything has been put to a halt, put to cessation. So the knowledge of the knowledge of the truth that sufferings are caused by one's own ignorance, craving, and other afflictions is only possessed by the exalted beings. So now you have to reach this level of knowing all the above. Previously it was all about somewhere else or something else or one thing alone. Now one knows it is due to one's ignorance, craving, and afflictions, karma, and this. Then when you therefore see somebody is really difficult to you or somebody, you therefore feel compassionate to them, for they do not know the ignorance, the craving, the grasping, and they are yelling at him or her or that or whatever. Whatever it is, then you know, they don't know these things. Because of that you don't mind, because you see how difficult it is when you don't see to get release, even if you want so much release. You really want freedom, but what you're doing is very much that goes against the causing of the release. So when you see that, you have this incredible release yourself from enmity to one who is like that. You feel incredible release of compassion and not aversion, because you're no longer arrested by it yourself. You have been completely released. You haven't got any of that. You're released. You're completely unfettered. The chains cut loose and you're no longer chained. The knowledge, the truth, therefore it is called the truth of the origin. This truth is noble. Truth of the cessation of the origin. Previously we thought it is great to recognize the truth of origin. Now we have the cessation of the origin. Even origin does not truly exist. Give yourself a break, We first thought we apprehended the origin, but now even origin has stopped. Even the source of Yellow River is not found. Because there's so many small rivers, there are so many tributaries, you don't know which is which. Maybe it's this cloud which increased those tributaries. So there's no Yellow River even in the tributaries. So there's a cessation of the looking for the source of the river when you know it's due to the rain. You might go look to the ocean. Oh gosh, it's your fault. No, then you realize you can't find the origin of the river when it's even in the river, because it all came from the rain, and the rain came from the cloud. And anyway, that's a weird analogy. But it's good to know there's no river. There's the origin of Yellow River, because that stops the cessation. Now, Buddha said in relation to this in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, now bhikshus, this is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. It is the remainderless fading away and cessation of that same craving, giving up and relinquishing of it, freedom from it, non-reliance upon it anymore. It's finished. So that's the truth of cessation. The knowledge of illness is powerful when it offers the correct diagnosis. Meditation is the tool that gives rise to this awakening. When you're breathing, when you're mantra reciting, you're sitting there, you should not just watch the breath all the time. Watching the breath is just the citer of this truth. People watching the breath but don't see the truth. Yes. So watching the breath is just the sight to aim to spot this truth. Without seeing the target, always looking through the sight. What's the point? Then people talk about this mantra doesn't work, this deity yoga doesn't work. They forget to look at the thing that these things teachings are pointing to. Even Vajrayana sadhanas, let alone bodhicitta meditation, let alone meditation and emptiness, of course, Four Noble Truths. It's all to see these truths, see these four truths. Mantra recitation and doing the deity yoga, mudra, and these are just to purify your gross physical, verbal karma. That you faithfully believe in this so that your gross aggregates are not left idle and enjoying them as something truly there. This should be utilized and put to good use. This is why you might do hundreds of prostration, you might do various devotional practices in order to utilize this aggregate that came at a huge price. And even when you bury it, it's not cheap, you know. We thought it was filthy, but they think it's very special, you know. They're actually covered with all kinds of scent, all kinds of perfumes, make it even more beautiful than the living one. We start deceiving each other. They don't really look at the dead body as a dead body. They don't look at a young mother. Then the mother was 92, but she's prettied up by the funeral parlor. She looks prettier. They don't let you to realize the truth of cessation. They become so driven and focused by their wrong conviction that they cannot hear and see anything alternative, let alone the less dangerous one. It is very difficult for them to find the solution unless they're able to turn to Dharma and realize the need to change their course of action, the karma. As soon as they come to know this, they'll have the power to stop the suffering from its origin. No wonder it's final release. They suffer by holding on to the very causes of suffering without knowing they are. Until they stop that, there is no final release. In the past, the concept of well heard is used for someone who has learned because he has heard such teachings. Through the warm breath of living tradition, who have properly adhered to the lineage and studied under their guidance, these days this concept is equivalent to someone who's educated or well-read, but it's not. Really, merely reading confuses you. So stop reading too many inappropriate doctrine and literature. Hear the teachings that seem authentic, believed, and practiced through unbroken tradition. Knowledge from study should be contemplated upon and then carefully examine its relevance and its use. In order to authenticate, one should practice meditation to empower one's own conviction with actual experience of gaining insight that the origin of suffering is ignorance, craving, and grasping. This insight is path of seeing. This will be the departure from the assumption that sufferings are caused by wrongdoing of others or one sole object. So this brings us to the fourth noble truth. I've been writing on this for a little while, maybe to share with you later in a couple of weeks' time. But of course, let's go through the four remainder steps. Noble truth of the path. Truth of path also has the four aspects, each of them named after forbearance, knowledge, subsequent forbearance, subsequent knowledge, respectively. And the fourth being noble truth of the path. Noble truth of the path is that one has to rectify, correct. One has to correct four wrong views that prevents you from finding the truth of the path. To be on the path, one must depart from the wrong paths, and rejecting them wrong as wrong, and turn to the path that is the way of the enlightened one. Otherwise, the wrong conception could not be corrected. So these are, what are the wrong conceptions? First wrong conception, holding that there is no such thing as path. They say, path. They say, what's the path? They'll dismiss, there's no path. They think there's no path, no. Leading to liberation. They don't believe in liberation, and they don't believe in path. And there's a lot of people, materialists. Those people who are turning non-religion, no religion, is basically doing that. I'm not saying they don't have a little bit more intelligent philosophy that keeps them really, a little bit sharp or entertaining, having very intellectually, very stimulating. I'm not saying they don't. They may have quite a few things that keeps their brain active. But as long as they deny the existence of path and liberation, they have no way to get that. So therefore, to rectify that, one has to gain the wisdom. Yeah, when one has gained the discriminating awareness of the first aspect of the noble truth of the path, non-conceptual discriminating awareness of a lack of an impossible soul is the path way that leads to liberation. So there is no permanent soul. And as a result of that, the path is, because if people who believe in this permanent soul, and for them, they don't need path. They deny path. They already are good. They just have to release from this body, and then they are with the good. So easy. So they all go to heaven, remember? They all go to heaven, so easy. There is no other path. You don't have to follow a full path. You don't have to follow the practices and so on. And they completely deny. And so that's the wrong view. And so those people who knows that and therefore adopt the correct path, they have found the path, and they have refuge, and they follow the path. And you become committed to your small but diligent, disciplined practices. You don't waver your mind when you have belief in the path. Yeah, so you do not question and doubt and think there is no thing I can't see. I don't think there is because I haven't been. No, they have lost the way. If they say there is no path, they have lost the way. Those who are on the path, that stays on the path, and they are actually believing in every little bit of the practice they do, however slow it may seem, they are much humble enough to accept that, but they do not have the arrogance to deny the existence of the valid path shown by the Buddha or the enlightened ones. That's why they decide to turn away from their religions. No religions, full stop. Very easy to do that. You don't have to be very smart to do that. Instead, you don't need too much brain. If you ask the Chuk, if you ask, do you have religion? There's a cook. No different. So that's the first aspect of the fourth noble truth, fourth truth, noble truth, the path. So you actually have a path. So you're a believer. Basically saying you're a believer in the Dharma and the teachings of the Four Noble Truths, teaching of the Four Seals of Dharma, and take refuge in the Triple Gem, believe in the law of karma, and however much you do not know, that's not a good reason to refute it, but you still believe in a life after death, life before death, because everything has something that came from. You can't say the rain has no cause. Rain came from clouds, so the rain has a past life of rain is cloud, and past life of clouds is ocean, and so on. So you don't try to be so smart to deny that the rain came from nowhere. as if there's no cause. So therefore, we have no hesitation. Even you can't remember past life, they definitely know that everything has beginning. Like this bell has come from something else. So it is not just come out of nowhere. It just did come from many causes and conditions. Likewise, everything we go through, we experience, we feel has causes and will have also results. And therefore, you believe in the relative existence of the path. This is very good, because otherwise you think everything is empty, you become nihilist. No, you have a path. You still have a path to follow. So therefore the danger of falling into nihilism is very great to those who don't have the truth, noble truth of path. If you have the path, there is an amazing sense of friendship and fellowship with the fellow practitioners on the path. You have a commitment to, you have gentleness to, you have to be kind to, and you have a commitment to hold your fellow brothers and sisters on the path, help each other as the best we can do. So, second aspect of the fourth noble truth, the antithesis of that is holding that the pathway of meditation on the lack of an impossible soul is inappropriate. So therefore, the idea of a permanent soul is inappropriate. Therefore, you develop this discriminating awareness of the second aspect of the noble truth of the path, which is a right method. So now you know the marga or path is correct. We call noble truth of the path. The path is correct one. You don't have to almost test and examine anymore. You have total faith. You believe in the path. Therefore, it's a right path for you. And you don't just check whether it's not the right path for him or her or he. Well, let him do that. But for you, it is your right path. It's very, very humbling, really. For you, it's a right path. You don't want to go into that intellectual side of it. And as a result of that, you don't doubt about the path. Incredible, Not having doubt of the path is, of course, discarding the doubt. Remember, doubt is one of the 10 afflictions. You don't doubt about the path. But those who doubt, they think they're smart. Doubt, two-pointed needle cannot sew even one piece of cloth. Like double-pointed mind, double-pointed needle can't sew. Person who is doubting could not make any progress because he doesn't have a path. His path is doubting. While Buddhism encourages rational reasoning, it doesn't entertain doubt. Doubt is one of the root afflictions. Buddha wasn't encouraging root affliction when he says test the teaching like the gold. he says, of course you can test, but it's not constantly testing, never practicing anything would be no purpose of buying the gold. You're hardly using any gold. You're constantly testing. You're beating them all the time. You're burning them, brushing them. You hardly use the gold at all. So doubtlessness. Yeah, you have no doubt. Why? You know the path you have is correct one. Correct path. Very important, very humbling. Even not only it's a correct path, but you couldn't believe that you have earned a measure of merit that can find. Incredible, like jackpot. That people say, I must have done something. I must have done something to deserve the path, which is the right path for me. Now this is the knowledge that the path that you have is the correct one. You don't have any doubt. You don't have any doubt or suspicion or thinking that now after Dharma type of thing. Now after Dharma I'm doing this type of thing. And then you have got over Dharma. You don't want to do Dharma anymore. That kind of mentality is very arrogant. Doubt is one erroneous view already. It's arrogant here. See, where is that discarding taking place? When you don't believe the Dharma, you cannot discard any of the wrong affliction. You actually make them even more ferocious. That's how dangerous it is. So, now we go looking at the third aspect of the fourth noble truth of path, subsequent forbearance, is called attainment. Now you have a sense of attainment, sense of accomplishment. Until now you are trying this, you're trying to get this, you're looking this, you're still never contented as you have found anything. Now you have this sense of attainment. Wow. It's like when Shariputra heard the Dharma, his eyes told it to Moggallanaputra. He can see that Shariputra has found the real thing, the attainment. Those who don't have the attainment, the antithesis of attainment is this 15th problem is holding a certain specific state of mental stability alone as a pathway leading to liberation. Although non-conceptual discriminating awareness of the lack of soul may be held with many of the states of mental stability associated with the minds on the planes of ethereal forms, this incorrect view is that those states of mental stability by themselves are pathway mind to liberation. So it is not, The discriminating awareness of the third aspect of the Noble Truth of the Path is non-conceptual discriminating awareness of the lack of inherent existing soul, is the means for the actualization and attainment called liberation. So now this takes to the last one, which is the liberation, moksha, which is actually called liberation. Fourth aspect is subsequent knowledge. Now you realize that the knowledge, the liberation is the subsequent knowledge. If there's only one hurdle before that, is holding that there is no such thing as a pathway. Because there is teaching says there's no path, there's no attainment, there's that sort of thing. If a person is a really kind of wrong view holder, there's a danger, there's no thinking, there is no path. No path. So here the discriminating awareness of the fourth aspects of the truth of path is non-conceptual discriminating awareness of the lack of a soul or being, and therefore definite liberation, removal forever of true suffering and true origin. So there is no true suffering or true origin when you have followed the path. When you have followed the path. So this 16th one is called subsequent knowledge. Subsequent knowledge of liberation means that definitely removing from all obscuration, preventing attainment, preventing any need to make any more progress whatsoever, except the what you call transcendental path of meditation. So this was only the what we call the 16 moment of the realizing the Four Noble Truth of its 16 aspects and overcoming each of the 16 wrong views. So that's what constitutes the discarding. How do you discard the 10 root afflictions, 5 non-views and 5 views that we talked in the previous session, where we looked at that from the point of view of desire realm only. Of course, the form realm and formless realm is a little higher because they don't have such thing as anger and other things, and so their discarding is lesser. But all of these. But anyone who is developing the meditative concentration, which brings to the yielding of the path of seeing, then actually learns to discard the path of seeing. So this actually is more like a elucidation on the path of seeing, about which the 98 discarding has been discussed, because we have to know how their discarding takes place. They only say you discard these, but they don't say how. If you don't know, the 16 aspects of the Four Noble Truths, you do not know what constitutes truth of seeing. Seeing all of these 16 aspects and discarding all of the antitheses and developing all of the antidotes, that's what the path of seeing. And then now one is question of doing path of meditation subsequently here. Path of meditation meaning accustoming to the path of seeing. It doesn't mean these afflictions are eradicated, but your ability to benefit sentient beings is still limited. Still limited. But you need to now go into the path of meditation, which is the transcendental path of meditation, not the worldly kind of contaminated path of meditation. Of course, these are really, Abhidharma does not, particularly this chapter we're looking at doesn't go into that, into those. It only goes to elaborate various classification of these 10 afflictions which we discuss, and how many of them are fetters, how many of them are flood-like analogies. So from next week onwards, we will just look at the interrelationship between those fetters, how they are universal and how they are non-universal, and different ways of classifying various function of them. Anyway, I don't know whether it's confused you or clarified it. It has been good exercise for myself to go over these 16 aspects of the Four Noble Truths. Thank you very much. Okay, let's do the dedication of merit, whatever little or no feeble amount of effort and realization and glimpses and sightings and we have. I'm sure this will all cause dependently originated benefit due to listening and contemplating and believing, mostly, in the context of the teaching. We have to believe in this teaching. You've got to follow this path, not constantly checking and never actually following with the belief. That will be waste of time, particularly in the short life. So therefore, it's good to honor the great masters like the likes of Vasubandu and Nagarjuna and all the galaxies of lineage masters of various Buddhist tradition over the last 2,600 years. They all have been enticed and relished and kept on the path by feeding themselves to the very feast of these teachings to open their eyes and minds and spread their wings into the infinite space of freedom from suffering and their causes. Thank you, everyone.